It was 1987. We had just graduated from college. We had no prospects. I was a waiter, Sean was a caddy, and Kurt delivered pizzas. We got a van for $300 and also bought a tent and a video camera. In September, we hit the road with no plan whatsoever. We were like a rock band with no gigs, no groupies, and no ganj. Welcome to the Trip Tapes. We're on the road to nowhere. Come on inside. So I was introduced to Dylan by my older brother. I was lucky enough, he was really into music, and he introduced me to Bob Dylan, and I used to sit in his room a lot. Those days you could look at the records, they had all sorts of liner notes, and I just thought Dylan was the coolest.
We loved Bob Dylan. I remember in college, right before sophomore year, I was in Chicago at a used record store called Wax Trax. It's obviously no longer there. But there was a Bob Dylan record in there that I didn't have. I bought it for $2.95. It was Blood on the Tracks. It was the best $2.95 I ever spent because we listened to that album our entire sophomore year.
Bob Dylan. Never really liked Bob Dylan or his songs very much.
And so when we were driving around Minnesota and we were going up towards the Boundary Waters, we said, let's go to Hibbing. You know, it was right there on the map. That was where Bob Dylan grew up.
So when we decided to go on this trip and we found ourselves in Minnesota, Sean and I said we absolutely have to go to Hibbing, check out where Bob Dylan grew up.
Was it Hibbing or Hibbings?
One more, man. 25th and 7th. Oh, no, we got the young crossing.
One time Bobby Dylan was out here. You guys remember Dylan?
He's waving you on. He's waving
me on.
Ask him if they know who Bob Dylan is.
Hey, do you guys know who Bob Dylan is? Do you know who Bob Dylan is? Where does he live?
Down here somewhere.
Some Hibbing pride left.
Yeah, here, hold on.
I can feel the spirit.
That's where you live. Take pride.
Uh-oh. This is exciting.
Hang out back, smoke.
This is Dylan's high school.
Yeah.
This is where he first got turned on to dope.
What was interesting about it is that both of them, right, we have Wikipedia these days, we have the internet, and we went on, I'm not sure how we found any of them, figuring out where he was from and then searching you know, asking random people, because honestly, that's the only way you could find things or find people.
We had no internet, no mobile phones. There was no way to know where Bob Dylan lived other than like looking at a book or going to the library.
Though the visit to Hibbing, I cringe a little bit at some of that footage because there we were in this van that did not look like, it looked like a very dangerous place for children, quite honestly, a kidnapping van we might call it. And we were rolling down windows, opening up doors, stopping at corners and talking to kids about did they know who or where Bob Dylan lived at. You could never do that today. We would have been pulled over, thrown on the ground. We probably would have never seen, you know, the Hibbing Tourism Museum because we were definitely, we crossed some lines there, let's just say that.
People speak highly of Bobby. How many years must a man go to high school? Is that Bob Dylan's mailman? Is that the house? Rain, wind, or sleet or shine.
Do you know where Bob Zimmerman used to live around here? Bob Dylan? Which house? Thanks.
Can't find the house yet.
I think one of us had a biography of Bob Dylan. We carried around a lot of books in the van. and we kind of paged through and tried to figure out and piece together where his house was. I don't think they had the address in it, but they sort of described it as being between two houses, and we sort of drove down that street and decided, yeah, that's Bob Dylan's house, and shot some video of it.
We never found Bob Dylan's house. It was a failed crusade, but I think Sean and Kevin, gained a great deal out of it. They got to hear a little bit about their hero. Kevin and Sean, it was a magic moment for them. I was ready to get out of that place as fast as we could.
But my favorite part of Hibbing was we stumbled onto the tourism office, if you can call it that. It was a small house with 3 wonderful 60-year-old folks in there. Vanna, Mrs. Calabrese, and Vanna's husband, Tony. Silent Tony, we called him. He said one thing all day, and Mrs. Calabrese shot him down. But Vanna told us a great story that Bobby Zimmerman took her daughter to the 8th grade tea dance. So she loved Bob. Mrs. Calabrese, whose daughter was not asked by Bob, did not like Bob.
We found a woman whose daughter went to a dance with Bob Dylan in 7th grade at the Y. That's as close as we got.
But they were big Dylan fans. I think the Hibbing Tourism Department was focused 100% on Bobby Zimmerman, although the only thing they really had was a bumper sticker with a picture of Bob's face on it.
Kevin talking to Mrs. Dylan, aka Zimmerman, about her son Bob.
My name is Deanna Hubberly, and that's my husband Tony.
Oh, that's Tony. Your daughter really went out with Bob Dylan?
Yes, really.
That's
In
exactly what I said.
7th grade, and I took them there because kids didn't have cars those days.
Where'd they go?
To the 7th grade teenage at the Y. I was a friend of the mother's. I know the aunts
Yeah,
and
we all
uncles
went
and
to Notre
everything.
Dame and we're just traveling.
Did he
around
like
the
sing
country.
songs on the date or anything? Like early snatches?
Not
As
in the
much as we
earlier days
can.
when he did what he did.
We've only been
from
gone
what
a week. We
I
started
heard,
in Chicago.
people didn't, you know what I
We
mean?
graduated.
Right, they didn't know.
They didn't realize
From
that he
college.
was ahead of his
University
time.
of
That he was a genius.
Yeah.
Do
You
the
could,
Zimmermans still live here? Any of the Zimmermans?
the aunt,
Because we looked up in the
aunt
phone
and
book.
uncle
Yeah.
Stones.
Oh, that's their name, Stones?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
that's, let's see, what's Stone? That's the uncle. And then Goldfein,
So you've all met Bob Zimmerman?
oh, yeah, yes, he's been at our house.
My
He's been-
son went to
He's
school
been
with him.
sliding
Did he really?
with him,
What was
he's
he
been
like?
smart aleck, that's his image.
Why? He was bad in when he was performing. He was on dope for a long time.
Well-
I know this from, I knew his mother and friends.
Oh, I know
parents
his
still
mother.
alive?
His mother is, all I can speak is good of him anyway.
He built
He's,
this lovely home that looked like a castle, like one of these sheiks, and that burned
Oh,
down
you
in one of the beaches in California.
Oh.
yeah, but
that's a move,
that's
too.
all after.
I heard that even while he was in Andrews, home was to send $5,000
Turns
a
your
month.
left. That would be there.
My favorite Bob Dylan song is Isis. And I just love the, it's just got great rhyme scheme, great guitar work, great vocal by Dylan, believe it or not. And I think later in the trip, I'm on camera singing it.
My favorite Bob Dylan song is Hurricane. Well, the Hurricane because it's like the shortest Bob Dylan song. It's only like 12 minutes long.
Bob had a great song called Idiot Win, where he basically talks about 2 folks in a relationship and just everything they did was so ridiculous when you look at it in hindsight. So I think Hibbing, along with a lot of other things we did on that trip, might be well suited for the song Idiot Win.